All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another CIRF report. Another big week, the Grand Cross, and a really cool alignment in the background with our slower planets all in retrograde. Really cool. I want to show you that. That's going to last the rest of the year. It's going to be a creator's paradise, creator's playground, but only for those who's going to be able to handle the cognitive fire hose. Allow me to explain. We are into the lunar cycle of a first quarter moon, so we have that. And that first quarter moon creates a grand cross. Kind of have this depicted here. Obviously, it's kind of oblong, but it makes a perfect square. And then we're going to talk about the delineation on that. And here's our little background. Another part of a creator's paradise kind of feeds into this Earth 2.0 concept. We're creating a new Earth. We have 3 planets in retrograde: Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, and I'm going to show you that alignment and delineate for you. Let's see here. The I-Ching says holding together, and the Dreambot says pretty much kind of the same words. There's bunch of new words, but the memes are still the same. Time is a big one. Cognitive processes, that's a match to Virgo, as well as the Mercury and Uranus. But we also have a whole nother meme of like technology and communication. So that really speaks to Mercury square Uranus, because Uranus tech, Mercury, what is being conveyed across the technology, the communication. It's all there. And so I think it's this cognitive fire hose, because there's multiple alignments here that talk about the thought processes, including the Dreambot. But I think it's going to be so much that it's going to bring us together. So it's a unifying cognitive fire hose. I can't wait to show you the more details. Let's do this. A huge shout out to Not For Me To Say. I'm over here dodging the negative and embracing the positive. Thanks, Chris, for the guidance. Now, this is actually really important for this week, is inventorying your thoughts. We're going to get to the solution later, but I thought this was apropos for what we're going to be dealing with this week with all the thoughts. All right, so great job, Not For Me To Say. Let's go into the Dreambot. And as we would expect, it is September now, so 812 on the surge scale for September. That checks out perfect. Og is still there, but you can see that all those numbers are now declining. We have a lot of the same words, but voting, for example, is gone, and a lot of new words in its place. One of them is oak. I thought that was interesting because this is number 5 in the Dreambot, so it's spiking 2 weeks after Sean Nelson brought us the plant of the week was oak. So I thought that was interesting. Anyway, long story short here, agreement, agree are still on there, and that's a match to the memes that we've been talking about. So the red is comms and technology. You got things like email and access, backup, phone. Phone is a new word, a relatively new word in the Dreambot. As the more common ones that we have been seeing, their surge scores are dying down. The yellow is the basically time words, and our father time is Saturn. So Saturn is a huge influence this week, as you'll see. And then we have green, the cognitive processes, agreement, acknowledge, thought. That's a new word. Mean. Now you can take mean in obviously several different ways. In the green arrows, we're looking at it. What does it mean? That kind of connotation. So not a lot of differences in the Dreambot, but I thought I would show you that, especially those new words. All right, we're in the last stages of our pre-eclipse season. So we're in a first quarter moon in between the new moon and the full moon eclipse. We're in the lunar cycle of Virgo that started on September 2nd, was the last CIRF report. We're still in the energy window until the 26th of September, energy window 14, Earth 2.0, recreating our material reality, partly and due to Uranus in Taurus. But I'll show you how it goes on steroids this period. All right. I don't recall what I was going to show you there, but here's our week's energy chart. I've got two lines. They should be probably just together, and it's going to be a very high amount together, but I thought I'd break it out because this background signature that really lasts the rest of the year, 2024, I'm calling it the creator line. This is a high level energy, and it's with the retrograde slow planets in the background, and it's the creator meme. And then the big fat green line is the cognitive fire hose, just all the processes that are going to produce a lot of thoughts. Okay, so where I want to start, because the last part of our week is going to have the Grand Cross, I'm going to talk about all the other alignments, and I want to start with this alignment that's going to last the rest of the year. Its center is Neptune, retrograde in Pisces. Almost got to Aries, but started retrograde, so is backpedaling now. Pluto also backpedaling in Capricorn, and then Uranus retrograde in Taurus. So you can see that there's obviously a trine here, Pluto trine Uranus. There's also the Neptune sextile Uranus and a Neptune sextile Pluto. So two of these are very transformative. And Neptune out there is allowing us to dream, to imagine. And actually, all this is reimagined. So if we were transforming, the Pluto retrograde says re-transforming. So transforming back into something else. Uranus changing, and the insights are changing back into something from the past. But anyway, the archetype here is the visionary architect, the creator, and that just happens to be the exact archetype of last week's Dreambot. So what basically, before I show you the picture, this alignment that has been there was outside of the energetic imprint that we were seeing in other dominant alignments. So we're just now talking about it, but that's why the Dreambot was saying what it was saying, is because it was the visionary archetype in this alignment. It's the tendency to dream big, tap into spiritual and imaginative realms, and then ground those visions into practical, tangible reality. We become master builders. And remember, this lasts for the rest of the year. So even though our energy window of 2.0, Earth 2.0 goes away at the end of September, this background visionary archetype energy lasts for the rest of 2024. So lots of creativity, innovation, and discipline. This energy, you may feel the ability to manifest dreams into reality. Ironically, we had a late comment on the last CIRF report, and it was from Julie Grace. And it said, this was just yesterday, doing this report on Wednesday, the 4th of September. But Julie says, I had a dream last night where I understood that my words create reality. And I'm telling all of you that this was no accident. This dream is a direct reflection of this energy. It's almost verbatim of what you are expected to feel during this period, the ability to manifest dreams into reality. Ironically, this was a dream instructing. So I thought that's very profound. You might also feel with this energy a profound personal and collective transformation. innovative solutions to old problems, but beware, you may become too focused on the end goal and neglect the journey. That part, it's probably not going to be happening suddenly. It's going to be a slow process. Might feel impatient, might struggle with balancing tradition and innovation because those are there as well. You can see this on this chart. All the slow planets are in very close alignment. Now, when does this thing end? And around December, Pluto is going to go direct first, I believe, and start to head into Aquarius. That doesn't necessarily end it, but then it disassembles when Pluto gets so far, and Uranus is, I think, the next planet to go direct, and then so Neptune going backwards at 28 degrees. I can't remember how far it goes, but it'll disassemble starting in January of 2025. But anyway, that will last all week. And then this one is Mercury square Uranus, goes exact at 11:20 p.m. on the 6th of September. This is the rebellious storyteller. I also like the genius innovator and just the inventor. The individual has a knack for captivating an audience with provocative original ideas and dramatic delivery. They challenge the status quo and aren't afraid to shock or surprise people with their unique perspectives and far out ideas. This communication style is like a grenade went off, and it can't be undone. Once these words go out, the shock wave is lasting. It's a one-way door. So you may feel with this energy, the Mercury square Uranus, the ability to think outside the box and come up with innovative ideas. Since we have Mercury in Leo at this moment, we'll have a charismatic and engaging communication style that wants to be heard, wants to be recognized, courage to speak up with injustice or outmoded beliefs, and a potential to inspire others and catalyze change. So there's that change things, and hard to keep the status quo going. Now, Saturday, this one's pretty much lasting all week, and this will add to our Grand Cross. This is one of our axes. Saturn in Pisces, retrograde, opposed Sun in Virgo. And this opposition goes exact on 11:35 p.m., 7 September, Saturday. The overall archetype here is the pragmatic dreamer. You have the Virgo pragmatism, and you have the dreaminess of Pisces. You have the discipline of Saturn and the conciseness, detail of Virgo. So you have the individual feels a deep pull between their desire to be of tangible service in the world and their longing for spiritual transcendence. They have the potential to bridge the gap between the mundane and the mystical. And above all, they manifest their dreams. Does that sound familiar? Just talked about that in that background signature. Manifesting their dreams through practical, disciplined effort. So it's practice and rehearsal and don't quit. Sunday the 8th, not a lot of changes, but there's more. On Monday, Mercury goes into Virgo. This is the discerning communicator. This individual has a keen eye for detail, as this image implies, and conveys complex ideas with clarity and efficiency. It's the master of organization, able to sort out vast amounts of information and distill it into meaningful, practical insights. Therefore, you may feel an enhanced mental acuity and perhaps some problem-solving skills, if you didn't have those already, ability to communicate with precision and clarity. I mean, the Dreambot that we talked about, communication is becoming a big theme, which is part of a cognitive fire hose. But you also might feel overly critical or nitpicky. Watch out for that, and watch out for getting bogged down in details and lose sight of the bigger picture, getting funneled into the details. All right, on Tuesday the 10th, this is where our Grand Cross is starting to form. But I want to wait until exactly the first quarter moon, which happens in Sagittarius at 1:05 a.m. on 11 September 11th, in the wee hours of the evening. So we have two axes in a Grand Cross. We have 4 squares that form the Grand Cross with an additional couple of other squares, and we have talked about those. But the Grand Cross axes, the first one is the moon and Jupiter, first quarter moon in Sag, Jupiter in Gemini. This is the eternal student. It's the insatiable thirst for knowledge and new experiences. It's like an eternal student, always eager to learn, explore, and expand their horizons, cognitive horizons. And then, of course, we have the Sun and Saturn. We talked about it. It's the humble servant is another way to look at it. Diligently working behind the scenes to bring order and healing to the world. But if you put both of those together, all these squares together, what you get is the Philosopher King. This energy embodies a unique blend of wisdom, service, vision, and pragmatism. They are a seeker of truth and knowledge, also deeply committed to putting their insights into practical action for the greater good. There it is again, converting from thoughts to material world, and in a practical way. The other thing I didn't mention is that this Grand Cross is all in mutable signs. So it's a mutable Grand Cross, meaning that the pressures within this Grand Cross is bringing a lot of tension into change. Mutable is meaning adaptable and changing, which feeds into that the Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto alignment. But with the Grand Cross, we might feel a visionary leadership and inspiration, a deep wisdom and understanding of universal truths. I think that's what will bring the collective together. And you might also feel overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility, Sun in Virgo, and Saturn in Pisces may experience the crisis of faith or existential angst. Again, this is the pressure to really sort it out and think, and it's part of that cognitive fire hose. So you can either succumb to the fire hose, just onslaught of all these thoughts, and big thoughts. They're not small, big, and they cause you to really process and think through them. And then lastly, they're going to cause us to talk more, communicate what you're noticing, what you're processing through. And in doing so, I'm predicting that this brings us more together. It's just so much thought. Some of us are going to get overloaded with it and not be able to communicate. I think the healthy version of this is really spend some quality time contemplating and then transform that into something meaningful to talk about. A lot of us who have the gift of talk will probably just think out loud, and that will probably have a very unifying effect as long as we stay out of power struggles. So the I-Ching then says hexagram 8, which is a stable state of union and harmony. This situation is considered quite positive and enduring. It might be sort of a collective type awakening. If we have a lot of onslaught of thoughts and practical ways of manifesting, I can see how that would be a unifying thing. Stable connections, inner peace, having more of a group identity, even if that identity is human, mutual support, emotionals. What I meant by human was a group identity. We've been divided into all these different bipolar groupings, And it's worked very well in dividing us into multiple ways. And so if we zoom out to try to find the common denominator, we find that we're all humans. That's what I meant by that. Mutual support, emotional security, social harmony, sense of continuity. So let's button it up, and so that we can get talking to our solution. But first, here is our summary for the influence. September 5th through the 11th, the 3 slowest planets align for a long-term visionary architect archetype. This energy manifests dreams into reality. It is a creator-type energy and assists the collective in recreating our reality, adding to the Earth 2.0 theme. Meanwhile, by the end of the week, the first quarter moon helps to form a mutable grand cross, further putting pressure into more adaptation towards the world we are co-creating. Sun opposed Saturn is all week and adds the ability to manifest dreams in a disciplined sort of way. All right, that's the influence. What about the solution? All right, there was no change lines, so it's back to hexagram 8 holding together, and we do this in a behavioral sort of way. So behavioral suggestions to hold together is fostering unity, practicing loyalty, contribute to collective efforts, offer support, cultivate empathy, mediate conflicts, balance individual and collective needs. Now, if you had to put that into an astrology sort of archetype, what sign would you say this is? What does that sound like, holding together? Well, we put it into our chart. I think the dominant energy is that Neptune, Pluto, Uranus influence, the center being Neptune, only for this week, because next week, even though this alignment goes the rest of the year, we have an eclipse coming up. So that will be the dominant energy. But Neptune for this week is in hexagram 25 of the rave, and we get Pisces. That is what, to me, hexagram 8 of the I-Ching is directly referring to. So we have a direct overlap already. And then if we go into innocence, hexagram 25 of the rave, line 1, we get selflessness, motiveless action. The universalization, that was a tongue twister, of activity. Psychic attunement that is its own reward. The potential for centering through attunement to challenges. The psychic attunement alone is another Pisces type of energy. So now let's go to the solution triangulation. All right, here we go. Remember, we had hexagram 8 holding together. We have the rave mandala of selflessness. We have sidereal Pisces. All these so far are sounding like the same thing. And then we got first quarter moon, which is motivating. And let's get started. Let's do some stuff. Let's be a little more yang. So the holding together and the self-sacrificing and the togetherness and the mystic and all that are a yang activity. So it's an active, it's not a passive activity this week. Here we go for our triangulation. Excuse me. I was personally not expecting such a tightly correlated social layout for this solution, but it is very tight. And here we are. Hold together and work hard at teamwork. Focus on common goals and contribute. Practice reciprocity and mediate conflicts. And balance the group's needs with your own. And when the I-Ching is combined with the rave, we get a direct match to the sidereal Pisces. This week, the suggestion is to foster compassion and empathy. Sacrifice for the betterment of the other self. The Law of One calls other people other self. See them as the creator, see them as their own, but also see them as a projection of my own imagination, my own hologram, the other self. The first quarter moon is congruent with action and production. Additionally, given the massive creative potential this week, keep inventorying your thoughts. It's very paramount that you stay aware of your cognitive processes. What are you thinking at all times? It doesn't mean to be a hypochondriac. It means to pay attention, because because of the creative potential here, what you don't want to do is have all these really negative thoughts and you not really aware of it, or you're kind of pushing it away into your subconscious, but it's still creating, right? So it doesn't mean get real anxious about bad thoughts. It means inventory them, be aware of them, and choose to have positive thoughts. So you're going to be very mindful, especially if you are a naturally sort of a cynical or a negative person. I would highly recommend you put sticky notes up and ask yourself, what are you thinking? So inventorying your thoughts, challenge limiting beliefs without excessive expectation. So challenge limiting beliefs sometimes for most people will then automatically turn into a positive thought and then really hold tight to this expectation that it's going to happen. So I would recommend, when we have these high expectations or excessive expectations, then it's almost counterproductive to the creative process, because it's the wanting. The wanting implies you don't have it, and therefore you want it and you expect it. Instead, the best way, in my opinion, to create from the mind is to also emotionally attune to it. So you imagine something that you want, you also add the emotion to it, but the emotion is congruent with the outcome, as if the outcome has already manifested, has already happened, which is a whole different emotion, right? So I know that's pretty hard to fake an emotion or try to create an emotion of something that you're imagining hasn't already happened. And so that's the challenge this week. So I got a lot for you. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to what you're imagining. And if you like what you're imagining, if you like that to create that, then try to create and foster an emotional attunement to as if the outcome has already happened. So you're not imagining that you want it, you're imagining that you already have it. Okay? Whew. All right, let's go to our plant of the week. And this is for flowers of the sun. It's called blue lotus. I am not familiar with blue lotus, but blue lotus is a water lily flower that grows predominantly in Egypt. It is said that the great sun god Ra, who created all things, created the blue lotus first. From the center of the blue lotus was born Nefertim and Isis, creator gods. For thousands of years, the ancient Egyptians considered the blue lotus a sacred flower, and it can be found throughout the dynasties being used as an offering to the gods for purifying the temples and within the funerary rituals. Said to have grown from the primordial waters, today the blue lotus only grows from mud. Its lily pads sit on top of the water and absorb sunlight, which gets carried as information and nutrients. It's known for its calming and slightly euphoric effects. Blue lotus tea can be used to enhance meditation and dreams. It's called the flower of enlightenment. It can connect us with the higher light codes and information available to us from the sun. Let the light illuminate through the mud, fixing the soil for growth and rebirth. Purify and enhance the third eye and crown chakras with this alignment. Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in retrograde and in that alignment that we talked about offer an opportunity to revisit or complete an understanding or lesson that is still muddy. The sun opposing Saturn can allow for this pause to occur, but it is up to us to incorporate this energy as higher light and not let it block out the sun, unifying the many voices we hear into coherent wisdom as Mercury lends its direct complement. There's a pro tip there if you want to screenshot that. I'll zoom in a little more. And this was created for humanity with love by Sean Elizabeth Nelson. Give a shout out to Sean. Thank you so much. And there's your plant of the week. All right, everybody. I leave you with the summary slide, both the influence on the top and the solution down below. If there was anything I said that was confusing, make sure you go down to the show notes and find the link that takes you to the intro video. I do know that's old and needs to be updated, but I don't have time to update that at the moment. I hope to soon. I hope to. Okay, that's it. And I hope all of you shine love and light out to the world, and we create the earth that we really want. Co-creating is on high alert this week, but so are the cognitive fire hoses. So be ready. All right, everybody, you take care, and I'll see you next week for an eclipse report. Whoop, whoop. Can't wait. Namaste. Be well.